Welcome to the moment they wished would never come. The moment where the quiet one, the ignored one, the pawn they discarded, flips the board and takes control. You don't ask for permission. You don't wait for validation. You show up like a reckoning with no warning. Game changer mode activated. You're not here to play nice, to fit in, or to take orders. You're running shit now. There comes a moment when the noise fades. The world, once a screaming mess of distractions, doubts, and digital addiction, slows down, not because the world changed, but because you did. You stopped waiting. You stopped complaining. You stopped asking for permission. Somewhere between the silence of your breakdowns and the chaos of your failed plans, a switch flipped. The version of you that was tired of being tired finally snapped. And that snap wasn't weakness. That was your activation. You're not in dreamer mode anymore. That era died with the last motivational video you watched, the last half-read self-help book you abandoned. What's left now is pure, stripped-down hunger. You don't want better. You want everything, and you're not apologizing for it. Not anymore. Most people will never understand this phase, because it doesn't look heroic. It looks messy. You start cutting off people, not with explanations, but with silence. You start sleeping less, thinking more. You disappear, not into a cave, but into yourself. Deep, ugly self-work, the kind nobody claps for, the kind where you face every version of yourself you swore you buried, every weakness, every excuse, every soft part of your soul that begged for comfort. You drag all of it into the spotlight and burn it. This is war, but it's not with the world. It's with who you used to be. That version of you that kept scrolling, that kept saying, one day, that kept negotiating with laziness, blaming timing, avoiding discomfort. That version dies now. Not with a bang, but with a decision. A quiet, bloody decision to kill your own softness before it kills your potential. Welcome to Game Changer mode. It's not glamorous. It doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with 4 a.m. alarms when no one is watching. It comes with saying no to parties, to people, to promises you made when you were weak. It's staring at a blank screen and forcing yourself to build, to write, to create, even when your mind is screaming to stop. And the craziest part, you start to like it. You start to fall in love with the grind, not because it's fun, but because it's real. The pain feels cleaner than pleasure ever did. There's something holy about struggle when you choose it, something divine about effort when no one's clapping. They told you to chase your passion. You're not chasing anymore. You're building a fucking weapon out of it. The world doesn't reward good intentions. It rewards impact. Ruthless, undeniable, inconvenient impact. And impact doesn't come from wanting more. It comes from becoming more. That's where you are now. In the trench of transformation. This isn't your glow up. This is your burn up. The kind where you light every excuse you ever made on fire and walk through the ashes like a goddamn ghost. You're not a morning routine. You're not a vision board. You're not someone else's quote. You're raw willpower mixed with surgical execution. You're designing a new version of reality, not through visualization, but through violence. The violence of discipline, the violence of silence, the violence of saying, I'm not done, when your body begs to quit. Look around. How many people are still sleepwalking? How many are still checking their phones before their thoughts? Still outsourcing their value to followers and filters? Still asking life to be easier Instead of demanding that they become stronger, you were one of them, but not anymore. Because there's something dangerous about the person who's had enough. Not angry, not emotional, just done. Done making excuses, done making plans without execution, done living like time owes you another day. This mode you've entered isn't temporary. It's not a phase. It's not a productivity hack. It's a spiritual possession. Something ancient crawled out of your DNA and reminded you. You were built for conquest, not comfort. People will start to notice, but they won't say anything. Not at first. They'll just feel it. That quiet intensity, that edge, that refusal to play small anymore. They won't understand how you got here, because they didn't see the nights you tore yourself apart to rebuild better. They didn't witness the discipline, the sacrifice, the storm you became. They'll call it luck. They'll say you got focused. Let them. You don't owe the process to anyone, only the results. And those are coming. You're not hoping anymore. You're executing. Every day is a battlefield. Every hour is a shot. You're not operating on motivation. You're running on momentum. Small wins. Relentless motion. Unforgiving clarity. You're starting to like the discomfort. Because it's proof. Proof that you're awake. Proof that you're not numb like the rest. Proof that you're creating friction against the lazy part of your brain that once ran the show. That part doesn't run shit anymore. Now you do, and you're not playing fair. You're playing real. You're saying no to anything that doesn't match your mission. You're letting people think you're cold, distant, obsessed, because you are. You've earned the right to be. The world has too many nice people with empty calendars. Too many polite souls with silent dreams. You've activated something primal, something dangerous. You don't need to raise your voice. Your results will scream. You don't need to prove anything. Your consistency will terrify them. You don't need validation, because your grind is the proof. Every day you wake up, the old you tries to make a comeback, and every day you kill him again. This isn't burnout. This is ignition. This is the fire you begged life to hand you. But life doesn't give fire. It gives friction. The match was always in your hand. You just had to strike it. Now it's lit. Now it's burning. Now you're done pretending to be humble when you know you were meant to dominate. This is what it feels like when you stop waiting for the perfect moment and become it. When you stop watching others win and decide to be the storm. Not a guest in the room, not a quiet voice in the back, but the one pulling the strings, breaking the patterns, setting the goddamn tempo. Game changer mode isn't a vibe. It's your new default. You don't rise in silence without inviting noise. The second you activate, the world reacts, not with applause, but with resistance. Your intensity disrupts the delicate balance of mediocrity people have made peace with. Suddenly, your presence becomes a threat, not because you've hurt anyone, but because you've become something they can no longer ignore. A reminder of what they could have been, what they once swore they'd become, what they buried in the graveyard of procrastination and comfort. And now they'll try to pull you back, not with chains, but with questions, subtle ones, harmless-sounding ones. Why are you working so much? Don't you think you're being too intense? What are you even trying to prove? And if you're not careful, if you let your old self whisper through the cracks, you'll start justifying your hunger. You'll start shrinking just to make them feel tall. Don't. You didn't come this far to become digestible. You didn't burn your old life just to keep your new fire hidden. This isn't the time to explain. This is the time to expand. because the more uncomfortable you make others, the more clearly you'll see who's willing to walk into the fire with you and who only loved the soft, forgettable version of you. This is the cleansing. This is where people fall away like dead leaves, not out of hate, but out of incompatibility. They were calibrated for your past. You're vibrating at a different frequency now, one that doesn't tolerate casual energy, small talk, or people who panic when they see your shadow stretch. You're not lonely. You're becoming rare. Understand this. Power isolates, not because you want to be alone, but because very few can handle the weight of someone who's decided they will no longer play dead for this world. This part of the transformation is the hardest. Not the grind, not the exhaustion, but the confrontation of people, of values, of choices that feel like betrayals but are actually upgrades. You'll start to realize how many relationships were built on your underperformance, how many bonds only stayed strong because you stayed small. Break them, because this version of you isn't supposed to fit into old rooms. It was born to build new ones, the obsession others mock. It's your fuel, the discipline they call too much. That's your edge. The silence they interpret as distance. That's the sound of you getting shit done. Keep moving. There's a strange freedom that comes when you let go of being liked. When you stop editing your ambition to be palatable. When you stop filtering your thoughts to avoid disrupting the fragile egos of those who fear effort. You're not addicted to results. You're addicted to becoming, and that addiction comes with a cost. Sleep, comfort, familiarity. All of it goes on the altar of evolution, not because you hate yourself, but because you're finally starting to honor yourself, to demand more from your hours, from your energy, from the legacy you leave behind when all this noise fades. Because that's the part people forget. The fade. All of this ends. Every minute you waste isn't just lost. It's disrespected. Time didn't owe you anything. And now that you've realized it, you're moving like someone who's done gambling with their potential. You've stepped into a different dimension of effort. One where suffering isn't punishment. It's currency. Every ounce of pain you endure buys you access. Access to levels others scroll past. Access to results they'll never touch. Access to a life most will only fantasize about from the sidelines. But access doesn't come with shortcuts. It comes with sacrifice. Not once, but daily. And here's the thing no one tells you. It doesn't get easier. You just get colder, sharper, more surgical with your focus. You learn to cut the noise with zero guilt. You learn to ignore the guilt that comes from not attending, not replying, not engaging with what doesn't build you. Because every no you say to the world is a yes to your future. And your future, it's bleeding for your attention. You feel it every time you hesitate, every time you sleep in, every time you scroll for distraction instead of building with intention. That aching in your chest, that's your potential pounding on the walls of your current life, demanding to be let out, set it free. You weren't built for numbness, for average, for the quiet suffocation that comes with fitting in. You were built to destroy patterns, the generational ones, the societal ones, the mental ones that whisper, "You're doing too much." No, you're not doing too much. You're finally doing enough. Enough to escape the gravitational pull of mediocrity. Enough to stop romanticizing laziness as self-care. Enough to stop treating your emotions like final verdicts instead of passing clouds. Let the world say you're obsessed. Obsession is the price of transformation. Let them call you extreme. The middle path never built empires. Let them talk. Let them laugh. Let them speculate. Because while they talk, you build. While they laugh, you bleed for the craft. While they speculate, you're separating from their entire reality, one discipline at a time, one savage decision at a time, one brutal, beautiful hour of focus at a time. And here's the darkest truth. You won't get congratulations for this. You'll get conflict, misunderstood, labeled, judged. Because when you start moving like a weapon, people forget you were once human. They forget the nights you broke, the doubts you drowned, the fears you chewed through just to stand here, in this mode, locked in and lethal. Let them forget. You're not here to be remembered by the crowd. You're here to be unforgettable by history. There's a reason this phase feels lonely. You're outgrowing gravity, and gravity doesn't let go without a fight. But you're done being grounded. You're done walking. You're done dragging your feet through days that feel identical. Now every step you take echoes, because you're walking in alignment, not with trends, not with timelines, but with your truth. A dark, wild truth that doesn't care about optics, that only wants impact. You feel it every time you say no to what used to excite you, every time you lock in while others are loosening up, every time you trade pleasure for purpose and let the pain teach you. You've become the architect of your own storm, not reacting, not wishing, just building, cold, focused, unforgiving. You wake up and move like a shadow, not to hide, but because you've realized light doesn't have to shout. It just exists. It shines, quietly, powerfully, like you now. A presence people feel before you speak. A frequency they can't quite name, but know they can't match. Because there's no replica for someone who's decided. This is the death of hesitation. You're moving like someone who finally understands that momentum is more sacred than motivation. That goals are nothing without grit. That talent dies where discipline is absent. And your discipline? It's becoming religion. You don't need permission to build anymore. You don't wait for the right vibe. You create the atmosphere. Every breath, every beat, every brutal choice you make now becomes a brick in the empire no one believed you'd build. They'll say they supported you from the start. Let them lie. You won't be there to argue. You'll be too far ahead, too deep into your next project, your next level, your next transformation. You're not here to prove. You're here to produce. The world worships results. You're becoming one, and as your frequency rises, the weight gets heavier, not lighter. But now, you're addicted to the weight, because light things never changed you. Light days, light habits, light conversations. You're done living light. You've stepped into the heavy, and the heavy is where growth lives. This isn't a motivational high. This is your new gravity, and the deeper you go, the more you realize there's no going back. You don't want to go back. That old life, that old mindset, it's uninhabitable now. You outgrew it the moment you took yourself seriously. You don't need a new plan. You're the plan, and now you're executing without emotion. The calendar doesn't ask how you feel. The clock doesn't care if you're tired. The mission doesn't pause for mood swings. So neither do you. You're not chasing balance. You're chasing dominance. The storm isn't coming. You are the storm. And as you press forward, hour by hour, layer by layer, the world begins to respond. Not instantly, not loudly, but undeniably. Opportunities find you. Respect follows you. Gravity shifts around you, because when someone builds with this kind of violence, the universe pays attention. You're not running on hype. You're not surviving on hope. You're fueled by hellfire and holy ambition. And every step forward, that's another nail in the coffin of your former self. You're not just activated now. You're dangerous. You've stepped into a zone where everything breaks. Old habits, old doubts, old limits. This isn't just evolution. This is revolution. And revolutions don't whisper, they roar. You're no longer waiting for a sign. No longer standing at the edge, wondering if the leap will kill you or save you. You've jumped. You're falling. And somewhere in that free fall, you realize the truth no one else will admit. You don't have control. You never had control. Control is a myth sold to comfort the scared. The only thing you control is your reaction to the chaos you've unleashed. The storms you stir inside yourself and around you aren't accidents. They're necessities. They're the exact conditions needed to forge what you're becoming. Unbreakable. Every shattering moment, every doubt that screams to turn back, is a hammer striking the iron of your will. The pain isn't your enemy. It's your smith. And with every strike, the edges of your former self get sharper, more defined, more lethal. Now here's the brutal part. Most people can't handle this. The darkness inside this mode scares them more than failure ever did, because failure is temporary. Darkness feels eternal. It's an abyss staring back, reflecting the parts of you you've been running from. And in the silence of that abyss, the real fight begins. The fight to not become what you once feared. The fight to not surrender your soul to excuses. The fight to stare down the monster inside and make it your weapon. You've seen the alternative. You've felt the weight of complacency dragging you into oblivion. You remember the nights you lied to yourself about starting tomorrow. The mornings you woke up hollow, scrolling through someone else's highlight reel while your own dreams collected dust. That wasn't life. It was survival disguised as living. Now survival is beneath you. You've stepped into domination. You're no longer part of the crowd. You're the storm that splits it. There's a paradox here. The more ruthless you get with your discipline, the more human you become. Not the polished fake version you showed the world, but the raw, unfiltered truth of who you are beneath the mask. And that truth, it's terrifying, because it carries the weight of potential and the burden of responsibility. You carry responsibility for yourself, to show up every day with more fire than the last. You carry responsibility for your vision, to protect it fiercely against doubt, distraction, and decay. You carry responsibility for the world, not because it asked for your greatness, but because it needs it. In this mode, there's no room for casual commitment. Half measures are poison. Excuses are death sentences. You either show up fully or don't show up at all. And showing up fully means everything breaks down before it gets built back up. The walls crumble, the masks fall, the comfortable illusions shatter. You get naked before your own eyes, and that's terrifying, because nakedness means vulnerability, and vulnerability feels like weakness, but it isn't. It's the ultimate strength, strength that refuses to hide from its scars, strength that wears battle wounds like medals, strength that says, I am here, I am real, and I am unstoppable. You're cultivating that strength right now. Not in the good days when motivation kisses your skin, but in the brutal mornings when doubt claws at your throat. Not in the easy victories, but in the moments when everything screams quit And you whisper back one more, because that whisper, that's your anthem. You're running shit now. Not because you took the easy road, but because you endured the hard one, the lonely one, the one where every step forward felt like walking on shattered glass, the one where you burned bridges and broke bonds, not out of anger, but out of necessity, necessity to protect the new you, to honor the fire you lit in the dark, the people who stay in your orbit now. They're not here by accident. They're forged by the same fire. They challenge you. They push you. They refuse to let you rest in complacency. Because in this mode, resting is dying, slow, painful death, disguised as comfort. You reject comfort. You crave discomfort, because discomfort is the price of greatness. Every sacrifice you make, every relationship you sever, every temptation you deny, every moment you choose work over ease, it's an investment, not just in your future, but in your legacy. What you build now will echo long after the noise dies down. And legacy, it's the cruelest judge. It doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't reward your good intentions. It only honors results. What you leave behind. The impact you carved into reality with your bare hands. This is why you push harder when everyone else stops. Why you show up before the sun and outlast the moon. Why you say no to distractions that seduce others into apathy. Because you understand something few do. The world doesn't owe you a chance. It owes you nothing. You have to take it. Ruthlessly, relentlessly, without mercy. That's what this mode is. Not a switch, not a moment, but a lifestyle. A commitment to war against your weaknesses. A battle cry against the comfort that suffocated your potential. A declaration that you're done playing small in a world that demands greatness. And greatness isn't polite. It isn't patient. It's brutal and dark and messy. It's scars and sleepless nights and relentless pursuit. It's sacrificing short-term pleasure for long-term power. It's choosing the storm every single day. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. You're running shit now because you've embraced the chaos inside you. You've let it fuel you instead of fear you. You've chosen to become the predator instead of the prey. And the beautiful irony? In surrendering control, you've found your power. Power not over others, but over yourself. Because the greatest battlefield isn't out there. It's within. The war against your own limitations, your own doubts, your own excuses, and you're winning every damn day. The future doesn't wait for the hesitant. It rewards the savage, the disciplined, the relentless. So keep moving, keep breaking, keep building. Because this isn't just activation, it's ascension. And you're not just running shit anymore. You're owning it.